Hey everyone, welcome to my video. This is Tracy Jackson here, the Tax Savvy Nurse, and I'm going to do this video on tax homes. You guys, if you are connected with me already, know that I've been talking a little bit lately about tax homes, specifically relating to travel nurses. It really applies to anyone that travels for work, but you guys know that I work with a lot of nurses, or I kind of target helping nurses because this is something that is a misunderstood topic that I want to try to bring some understanding to. So if you are new to me, I am a nurse. I am a registered nurse, and I'm also a tax professional. So I do help nurses and health professionals to make sure that they're really understanding their tax situation, paying the least amount in taxes, and for those nurses that have businesses, helping them to increase their cash flow and making sure that they are moving in the right direction with their businesses as well from a tax standpoint. So I want to talk about tax homes because it is so important. It's a gray area that people really don't understand. And I want to not only give you the 3 things that qualify someone, a nurse, to have a tax home, a legitimate tax home. So what really qualifies you to have a tax home? And the reason that's important, and I want you guys to really hear this if you're a nurse watching, if you don't have a qualified tax home, you do not qualify for tax-free stipends. All right, you don't qualify for per diems, you don't qualify for reimbursements, because the reimbursements that they're giving you for travel and for housing are only if you have duplicated expenses, meaning you already have a tax home. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. You guys excuse my voice because I've been coughing, so if I cough, I apologize in advance. But and I sound really raspy, but I wanted to get this out there, so I'm going to do that. And basically this is just expanding on a post, some posts that I made last week on tax homes. So again, I told you why it's important, because you want to make sure that you qualify for those stipends. All right, so and I'll go into that in a second here as well, a little bit further, and then I'm going to show you where I got this information at the end and where you can read up on it. So number 1, okay, number 1 for rule for qualifying for a tax home is that you want to have performed a majority, or they say in the wording says significant portion of your employment in your tax home. So it's the area that you make most of your money. Okay, so just simply put, it's not just a state, it's not just a zip code, it's not just where your house is at, it is a region. All right, so I'm from Maryland, so my tax, if I was living in Maryland, my tax home where I'm working would be like the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, right? Because I can pretty much drive to jobs in those 3 areas, you know, within about an 80 to 90-minute radius, right? So if I go in any direction from my house in that area, that's my tax home. All right, so it's different than like your residence, all right, to where you have, you know, your license, or you're a registered to vote, or your address and your mail come to and all of that. That's your residence, but your tax home, for tax home purposes, is that region. So just to clarify, I had a nurse ask, she said that she's working, let's say she's working in Atlanta, right? So from here in Atlanta, she drives an hour or so, right? 90 miles to her job, and she stays living at her home, but she's taking a travel assignment in that location. Okay, she's taking a travel assignment in that location 90 miles away. She's driving there, it's a long drive, and she's driving back home. That does not qualify as a legitimate situation. Okay, that is her tax home, but she's not duplicating expenses. So we'll talk about that in the next one. So I wanted to say that the 50-mile radius rule from your tax home is a myth. All right. So please be aware of that. Some of the travel agencies, and not saying that they're bad or wrong or anything like that. It's just kind of like the rule that they kind of used to say, oh, if you're 50 miles out or further, then you're good to take a travel assignment and still get the stipends. Well, that's not true. It's not in the tax code. So just be really, really careful of that. They're paying you, all right, to be clear, they are reimbursements. They are per diems. They are stipends. It's all the same thing interchangeably. Basically, they're paying you tax-free money because you're duplicating expenses somewhere else away from your home. The key word is duplicating expenses. So in that situation, if that nurse is able to drive to her job, and not have to sleep there, she's able to safely drive back home, then she's not duplicating expenses. All right, so just be mindful of that. But rule number one, with rule number one, it says that you want to make a significant, you want to have part of your business in that area. So if you're a travel nurse and you live in Maryland, then you want to make sure that you have a PRN job, or you take a assignment there for at least 30 to 45 days during the year, okay, per year, per 12 months. But the other side of that is if you make a significant part of your income there, and I've heard experts say about a quarter of your income, so about 1/4 of your taxable income in that area, then that would satisfy rule number one as well, because you're showing that most of your work is done in that area, okay? And I want to try to demonstrate that, okay, because I'm a numbers person, and I wish I had a board or whatever, but I'm just going to wing this, okay? If you're a travel nurse, you know that your taxable income is usually pretty low than if you had a normal job. So it may be like $20 an hour. If you take a travel assignment, if you go back to your home, your tax home, and you work those 30 days, let's say if you only work 30 days there, okay, let you take a PRN job, maybe you do 3/12s a week or something like that, just to satisfy being home for that 30 days. Let's say you make about 5,000, let's say you make $6,000, right? So you make $6,000 in your tax home to satisfy that. But let's say you had 3 other assignments, because your assignments are maybe about 13 weeks or so each. Let's say you had 3 other assignments in 3 different locations. And I'm just going to illustrate this here. So let's say you make $22 an hour. That's your taxable income. Now remember, with all the stipends, the tax-free stipends included, you may come out to be what, $50, $60 an hour. But we're talking about your taxable income. That's what you're going off of when we talk about this 1/4 rule. So about 1/4 of your income or more, right? You want to show that you're making a significant amount of your income in your tax home to satisfy rule number one, okay? So let's say you make $22 an hour and you're working 3/12s a week. So times 36, right? So that's $792 a week. And there's 52 weeks in a year. So we're saying you're doing this for 42 weeks, because we're separating the 4 weeks that you're working at home. When you're away, you're working 48 weeks. Okay, so I'm gonna times it by 48 weeks. That's what you're traveling. So on your travel, you've made 38,000 just in your taxable income, right? Your taxable, I hope you guys are following me. So your taxable income, but we're going to divide that by 3. I'm just saying on average, it's never going to work out this precise, because you're going to have different, but I'm going to divide it by 3 because you had 3 nursing assignments. So let's say on average at each assignment, you made $12,000 in taxable income, not including the stipends. But you remember, you only made $6,000. You only made $6,000 at home. So that doesn't count as being significant, right? Because you made less than a quarter of your income at your tax home. Do you guys follow me? I hope that wasn't too confusing. I normally would like do it on a whole slideshow, but whatever. So you get what I'm saying. Most nurses wouldn't be able to satisfy that with the way that they typically travel. You could, but you would have to be really mindful in tracking your income to say, yes, I made a majority of my income at home and not on each travel assignment. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Now you could come home. Some people will say it may take more like 60 to 90 days to kind of reach that, because let's say you made $5,000 a month at your home, but you stay there for 3 months, then that means that you're at like 15,000. So you would probably want to be at home the same amount of time that you are at your each assignment. Does that make sense? So if you were at your assignment for 3 months, then you'll want to stay home for 3 months. Okay, so that could possibly allow you to satisfy number one. The reason why I outlined that is because number two is what really gets people. All right, so hopefully you follow me. That was just rule number one. There's 3 rules, and you want to make sure you satisfy at least 2 of the 3, okay, to have a legitimate tax home. So follow me here. Number 2 says that you need to have a majority of your, you need to have living expenses at your home, that you are duplicating other expenses away from home, right? So basically it's saying that you need to have a house here that you're paying bills on, and then when you travel, you have to have another house in that location. So if I'm in Atlanta, I have my house here, right? This is my tax home here, that I'm in right now, or it would be. And so if I want to go to California, then I need to keep my home here. All right, don't sell it. Don't, rent it out to Susie or whatever. I need to maintain my home here, and I need to find a home in California. Now, some people are saying, well, that doesn't make any sense because I wouldn't really profit anything if I had to pay 2 expenses. Well, that's the whole point, right? So the whole point would be I guess the whole goal would to have a tax home where you have low expenses, and then find, something where you're going that has low expenses as well, right? To try to benefit from the tax-free stipends. But again, you can't just sell your home and get rid of all your things and go to California and make $70 an hour, which those stipends aren't, excuse me, included in that $70 an hour, and think that it's legitimate, because you're not duplicating expenses. So basically, they're just paying you to live out there. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Okay. So what you would want to do is make sure that you keep your home. So if you had a husband and some kids here at the home, then that's great. You're pretty much maintaining the home with your family. Your family is still here. You haven't abandoned it, and you go and find a little cheap spot where you're going. Okay, that is okay. All right. And that's what most people are missing, because they're trying to get rid of their expenses. Or let's say like the younger nurses, I talked to one last week as well, whose things were at her mother's house, and she wasn't paying anything there, and she was living with a friend where she was at. So I don't know if that would really fly, because she doesn't pay any expenses. And I get the point, is that she wanted to keep all of that tax-free income. But that's not what they're paying you for. They're not giving you stipends to just live for free. Okay, they're giving you the stipends tax-free because they're saying, hey, you have a home here, and I know that you're going to do this assignment over here, so let me help you pay for it. And if you don't have duplicated expenses, and you don't need, you don't have a legitimate home already, then we're not going to give you those stipends. All right. So hopefully that's very, very clear, like very, very clear. I'm hoping. All right, now I'm going to do another video next week that's going to or soon. I'm going to do a video outlining how you can create a legitimate tax home if you have a parent, or if you're living with a parent, or you don't have like a mortgage or a home that you own and things like that. So I'm gonna outline the rules to help you be legitimate with the IRS, okay? Or at least to help you be able to stand up in case you have an audit or something like that. So rule number 3 is that you have not abandoned your home. So basically it's your historical place of lodging. And you've claimed the main home where you're located. Like I said, your members of your family are there. You got, husband, kids, that's your main home. So like I said, the rule is you want to satisfy at least 2 of the 3 rules. All right. Number 1, the reason why I outlined that is because it's kind of hard for some nurses to really show that they had a majority of their income, or to really keep track of that they had a majority of their income in their tax home. Most just kind of go home for that 30 days so that it shows that they haven't abandoned their home. But it's not enough income generated there to really say that you had a majority of your income in that tax home, if that makes sense, because you're making more of your money where you're going. Okay, so that's why number 2 comes into place, is that if you're not generating most of your income at home, then you need to make sure that you really show that you're legitimate by paying duplicate expenses. So it's kind of simple concept, right? But people can make it complicated because they have all these different things that they're trying to do to, get around paying 2 expenses. Okay. And there's some ways. I'm sure, I've seen some vlogs and videos of nurses that have come up with some clever ways to maybe, try to lower their expenses. Like I've heard of someone saying that they just get a cheap apartment, like in the cheapest place that they can find, maintain a home there. It might be, $500 a month for an apartment, so if that's an option for you and you want to downsize and just get like a 1-bedroom apartment, that is a tax home. Like it just says that, and let me be clear, and I'll go over this more in another video, but as far as paying rent, it has to be fair market value. So you can't just say you're paying rent, like $50 rent to somebody, and say that's expenses at your tax home, right? So it has to be a reasonable amount, and I'll dive into that on the next video. But yeah, so there's different things that you can do, but just know that you want to be compliant. Number 2, you want to keep records. I'll probably do another video on that, but you have to document when you go back home. You want to show and save receipts. You want to show any expenses that you have and save those, so you can say, yes, I was at my tax home for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days out of the year. And we'll go into documentation stuff in another video. But hopefully that helps. I know it was kind of long-winded, but I did a brief post. I just wanted to expand on it. If you have any questions about your personal travel situation, please schedule a consultation with me, please. Okay. I don't know all the answers, but I promise you, if I don't know, I will find it. I have some great resources, and we'll make sure that I get you an answer. So you can schedule a consultation with me. I will post a link to my calendar somewhere below this video. You can also find me at taxsavvynurse.com, also on my business Facebook page as Tax Savvy Nurse. And make sure that you follow me. Make sure that you find me on YouTube, which is probably where I'm going to be posting this video, as well as Facebook. Just connect with me, okay? I'm going to be giving a lot of information. I know that I always say I'm going to do it like once a week, but I've just been so busy studying. If you guys noticed, I have been studying for my enrolled agent license to be enrolled by the Internal Revenue Service, which is pretty high level. So I passed the first part. Actually, I did part 3 first. So I passed part 3. So I'm super excited about that. And I do have 2 more parts to go because I want to make sure that I bring the most value to my clients, right? And I'm able to represent them in the best capacity possible. So I apologize if I don't put out enough videos, but if you do a consultation with me, I really stay on the phone until I answer all your questions. And like I said, if I don't know the answer, I will find it. I'm going to hop over really quickly to show you guys where I found this information and what publication. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, so here's the publication that I wanted to show you. It's IRS publication 463. You can go to the IRS website or you can just Google it. This is the travel, gift, and car expense outline of the tax code, right? The rules for these particular topics. So you can go to page 2 and you'll see travel here and you'll see tax home. So this is where I got the information from. This is where if we are unclear on certain rules that go on, we go here and we try to get clarification. So you can see here factors used to determine tax home. This is where I got the information of rule 1, 2, and 3. It gives enough information, but like I said, sometimes there's some gray areas where you're just not really sure based off of someone's situation. So they do give examples, which is good. That shows what is allowed, what's not allowed, how's a tax home different from a family home, what travel expenses are deductible. I'm going to do another video on that. That's a big question. So there's a lot of information that as a travel nurse, you really want to know. So I highly recommend all nurses, or even if you just travel for work period, to read this. It's not, well, it's kind of long. You can just read the travel part. It's 48 pages totally, but it's not all on tax homes. I think the tax home part is maybe 5 or 6 pages. So anyways, I know I tend to be super detailed, but I just wanted to give that information, and look out for my next video on how to make your parents' home legitimately a tax home. And I'll be putting out some more content as well. So I don't want you to take this as I'm giving you specific tax advice. You definitely want to go to your tax professional, CPA or whatever that you use. They can be able to guide you because they know your situation. You know, you've dealt with them in the past, so definitely consult with them. Make sure that you are on track to be compliant. If you don't have a tax professional and you need some information or guidance, or what have you, just please make schedule a consultation with me. The links are going to be below. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video.